All right, buckle up, kids. This week we're going to be talking about fishing boat docks in August and September, for the co-angler, that is. Okay, before we get started, I want to talk about rods. There is a big misconception on rods. And for a co-angler, let's talk about the boater. He can use a 7-foot to an 8-foot rod for flipping. He can position the boat however he wants. He can make those little tedious casts and get the boat lined up. You don't have that option. You have your angle, and this is just about the best setup I've ever found in my life. It's a 7-foot, it's a low rider rod. It's called the Lizard Dragger. It's not a flipping rod. It's actually made for Carolina rigging, but a 7-foot rod is, you're more apt to make a more accurate cast with a shorter rod and all that. And on boat docks, you might be flipping 25 feet, 30 feet at most. But the thing is, it allows you to get in those little bitty tight areas where a guy that has a longer rod, he's not as accurate with those. And also this rod, get it down here where you can see it. It's got a tip on it. It's got a little light tip. That tip comes into play. That's what allows you to skip your lures. If you have a pool cue and you're gonna be banging upside the dock, making dings and everything else, your boater's gonna be upset because you're hitting the dock nonstop. Also, this is the one time I will tell you, upgrade on your reels. This is a DC. This is a Shimano Scorpion reel. It's an 8-to-5 gear ratio. The DC is a digital control. It helps you with your backlashes because you're gonna be skipping, you'll be hitting a dock. Believe it or not, I don't care how long you've been doing it, how good you think you are, you're gonna get a backlash, hands down. But this DC reel does help me. It palms in my hand well. And anyhow, but don't get caught up. Don't use a 7-1 or a 7-2, 7-foot. 610s actually. 610, if you can find one out there, it's got a great tip on it. 610s are even better. But a 7-foot rod will actually get you what you want. All right, baits. Right here, I got two jigs I'm gonna start off with. It's a Strike King structure jig. And this structure jig right here, this one's actually peanut butter and jelly. This is black and blue. The only 2 colors you need out here. What I've done, I've turned it into a finesse jig by trimming the top skirts, making it flare out. This is an Ozark thing we've done here. I will be making a video on how to do this, but if you just need to know now, Todd Cassadine has made a great, awesome video. I got this idea from him on the structure jig. But it's a finesse bait. It's a 1/2 ounce. You can put this bait anywhere you want. Now I've got it teamed up with this here is a 1/2 ounce baby D-bomb in the Superbug color. Superbug has green pumpkin on one side, black and blue on the other. And if you'll notice, I have that D-bomb on there at a curve. And that curve allows me, when that jig is coming into the dock, when you're skipping it, it's coming right at you. It allows that bait to flip up like that and skip. And it gets a little further up in that boat dock by leaving that curve in it. Another thing I do, it's called a thump gel. And a lot of people are like, oh, scent doesn't help. I mean, it might not. It might help them hold on to it a little bit longer. But the reason I use it is because it gives it a slick coating on my bait. When it hits that water, it's more apt to skip a couple more hops back up in the dock. And the further you get back up in those docks, the better off you are. I think I got this off Amazon. I think they're like 14, 15 bucks, but it's something you can slide in your pocket and apply whenever you need it. Colors, 2 colors I use. Actually, I use 3. I don't have the other one with me. It's a green pumpkin with the orange color in it. But, you know, the peanut butter and jelly, the black and blue are the 2 colors I go to, simply because we're fishing back up into boat docks. The reason the fish are there is for the shade. And it's darker back up in there the further you get. And the darker the jig is, the more of a silhouette it puts out, and more likely they're gonna see it, get it. I don't know, I'm not in the mind of a fish, but it works for me and all. Last year I was at Lake of the Ozarks for a Toyota in September, I think the end of September. And I'd pre-fished for 3 days, I believe it was, behind guys that were flipping docks. And I'd stuck with my peanut butter and jelly. It's my go-to color. And I'd pick up a fish here and there, but it was Nothing compared to when I switched over to a black and blue jig. We're on the lower end actually. And I never thought, a black and blue jig is for dirty water. I started picking up this and I started skipping it back up underneath those docks, and I was letting it go all the way to the bottom, and I wasn't hopping it. I was dragging it across the bottom back to me in probably 20 foot of water. And I would just get 2 or 3 drags into it, and I just feel thump. Sure enough, the black and blue was on fire down there. During the tournament, I wasn't fortunate enough. I got with a live scoper that went out offshore, and I've managed to scratch up a couple of limits during the tournament, enough to give me some points, give me to the championship. But again, boat dock fishing. Another thing you can do, and I figured this out up when we went up in the river at Lake of the Ozarks. Got up there, the 1/2 ounce jig just was not doing it. So I tied on a 3/4 ounce. This is another structure bugs. Strike King does make a 3/4 ounce. They're kind of hard to find, but if you can find them, grab them. They have a great hook on them. The hookup on these jigs are awesome. But with the 3/4, I use the D-Bomb in the same color, Super Bug, green pumpkin, black. But what it is this jig, when it hits, it's zipping. It's flying to the bottom, and it doesn't give those fish time enough to look at the bait and analyze, is that a perch? What is that? What, they just instantly grab it out of reaction. And it's got a great weed gar on it, by the way. So give that a try. Also with these jigs, these are about the best jigs I found all around. I mean, you could probably make a football jig work, but it doesn't come through the brush that good. You end up spending up time getting hung up, and you're having your boater take you up there to get it, or breaking it off and retying. These structured jigs, for some reason, they just fly right through it. They just come right through the brush. Okay, my next bait. This is my backup bait right here. Then this one here is probably made me more money than any other flipping bait I've ever had. This is a mid-size brush hog. And I don't get crazy with the colors. I don't do the black and blues or anything. I stick with one color. This is a green pumpkin. Yes, I have dipped the tails simply because I'm trying to mimic a perch, what they're really eating on that time of year. I have it teamed up with a 3/8 tungsten weight. This is actually a chrome one. In the fall, for some reason, I like to go to chrome or whatever it is. It's unpainted, but I think it gives off a little flash. And also, I have it teamed up with these are 6-cents bobber stops. You can pick these up at Academy. I think they're $9 for a whole pack. The whole pack will probably last you almost a duration of a year. But here's the key on flipping these plastic baits. It's a haymaker. It's a 4/0 haymaker. And this hook, owner came out with it about 2 years ago. It's very difficult to find, but when you find them, grab them. The point on this hook kind of slants up. So, and it takes very little pressure to actually get into the fish. But once you get it sunk into the fish, you have to get pliers to get it out. It's just got a great hookup ratio. Stick with it, love it, do it. All right, our next bait. And this one here is the one that's gonna throw everybody off, and you're gonna have more questions like, why? I don't know why, it just works. Cincos, 5-inch Cincos, 2 colors, black and blue, green pumpkin. And I have it teamed up again with that 4/0 owner haymaker hook. But the key to this bait is lead. This is a 1/4 ounce lead sinker. I don't go 3/16, I don't go 5/16, 1/4 ounce. That's all you need. And the reason I use lead is because tungsten is loud. And when you get in these high pressure situations, everybody's flipping boat docks, that they're flipping those tungsten baits in there. If they're going to the bottom, what do they sound like? Ding! They're just dense. And they put off a loud sound. I'm just doing something a little different. And the one thing I do, I take my peg and I'll pull it out about a foot and a half maybe. So whenever I flip the bait in there, the sinker falls down. And as it's falling, this bait here spiraling. And once the bait hits, or the weight hits, now this bait is more active than just to flutter down the bottom. It's a little different approach or a presentation to the fish. It's something he hasn't seen, and you will get bit. And this bait and the brush hog are both great, not just cat flipping inside of the boat docks, But if you'll watch the boat docks and watch the shade line, shade is one of the most important things. Early in the morning, the shade line might be 1.5 to 2 foot out past the dock. And you can flip those baits to the back side of the dock, let it go to the bottom, and just pop it back or slide it back. And there's brush right there. Look for those little rod holders. That's another thing on these docks. Rod holders are indicating, hey, the boat dock guy that owns the boat dock has put brush out somewhere. And that will tell you right there, hey, there might be some brush out here, or remnants of brush or something. Anything that will hold that bass out in that shade while you work that bait back. And you'll get it down. And sometimes this little unobtrusive bait is actually deadly. It's something that it's not overwhelming. It's just subtle. It's something they don't see a lot of, and they'll be more apt to grab it. Hopefully I've covered everything on what a co-angler needs for a boat dock. You don't need to bring the entire garage. It's just a few baits. They're simple, they're easy. The one thing I do recommend you do is get your rod, get your jig, get you a coffee cup in your garage, stand about 15, 20 feet away, and practice repetitive. Pitching that jig into that coffee cup. That will come out to play. The best flippers are the guys that can get it back up in those little tight spots. And that coffee cup is about the best thing you can do. Well, if you like, click and subscribe. I'll see you next week.